What happens when you stop texting back? When the typing bubbles disappear and you don't care if they ever come back? What happens when your love turns into silence and that silence isn't empty? It's full of everything you used to say. Here's the truth. The loudest moment in any connection is the silence that comes after you're done. Not angry, not heartbroken, just done. That kind of silence doesn't beg, doesn't chase, doesn't even explain. It just leaves and lets the absence do the talking. You see, people don't notice the noise when you're always there. They get used to your good mornings, your check-ins, your late night, "Are you okay?" texts. Your presence becomes background music. They forget how much it mattered. Until one day, it stops. And in that void, they hear the echo of everything they took for granted. This isn't about revenge. This isn't about playing games. This is about power. The kind that comes when you remove your energy, your attention, your care from someone who thought they'd always have it. And that's what emotional withdrawal really is. Not a tantrum, not manipulation. It's a controlled fire. You're burning the bridge in silence, so no one hears the match drop. She thought she could break you and you'd crawl back. She thought her absence would make you spiral, but instead you leveled out. You got quiet. Not because you're weak, but because you finally understood the truth. You can't force someone to see your worth. But you can take it with you when you leave, and that quiet exit is louder than any goodbye she was expecting. So when the silence starts, don't run back. Don't explain yourself. Don't post cryptic quotes and hope she notices. Let her feel it. Let her sit in it. Let her wonder where that version of you went and why he's never coming back. If you're sick of being emotionally manipulated, if you're tired of giving chances to people who only take, hit that like button, subscribe, turn on notifications, and comment below. My silence speaks for me now. Now, let's begin. Number 1. She expected you to chase. She thought you'd chase her. That was her first mistake. She walked away expecting to hear footsteps behind her, convinced you'd come running like every other time. That's the game. Pull back to see if you'll panic. Withdraw to see if your fear of losing her will override your self-respect. She wanted control, not closure. Power, not peace. Why? Because she believed she was the prize. She thought your attention was guaranteed, and when someone becomes addicted to attention, they start to feel entitled to it. She expected tears, pleading, regret. She thought breaking your heart would inflate hers. She thought your love meant weakness, that you couldn't walk away, that you'd break the silence first. But Stoicism flips the script. It tells us that the man who stays still is stronger than the one who chases. That peace is found in letting go, not in holding on tighter. You don't chase what's fleeing, you observe. You let it leave, not because you didn't care, but because you finally care enough about your own soul to stop pouring it into someone who keeps throwing the cup away. She expected chaos when she walked away. Instead, she got quiet. And nothing is more terrifying to someone who thrives on control than your silence. Your calm becomes confrontation, your lack of reaction. It screams that she's lost her grip. Let her wonder, let her replay everything in her head, let her sit in the silence she caused. You don't have to explain yourself. Your absence is explanation enough. Number 2, when you go quiet, they start to panic. The moment you go quiet, something shifts. Not in the room, not in the world, in them. That silence they once craved, the space they asked for, suddenly becomes unbearable. Because they didn't want silence. They wanted control. They wanted you to react to their distance with desperation. But when you don't flinch, chase, explain, or even care, that's when the panic sets in. You see, most people aren't looking for love. They're looking for emotional dominance. And when you always respond, when you break your own peace to prove your feelings, they win. But Stoicism teaches us to master the reaction, to stay still while others swing wildly, trying to provoke a response. Because in silence, your power becomes undeniable. Now the attention they once took for granted becomes something they crave. The same messages they used to ignore, they start checking their phone for. That silence becomes loud in their mind. It becomes a reflection of what they lost. Because they didn't expect you to stop caring. They didn't expect you to move on without warning. And they sure as hell didn't expect you to be okay without them. There's a reason silence is so powerful. It forces people to face themselves. And if she wronged you, if she played games, manipulated, lied, pulled away just to see if you'd beg, then your silence isn't just quiet. It's a mirror. Every unanswered call, every unviewed story, every ignored attempt to check in, that's her conscience knocking, and you're not answering. That's where regret is born, not in arguments, not in closure, in silence. Number 3, emotions are weapons, if you can't control them. Your emotions are tools, but in the wrong hands, even your own, they become weapons. She didn't need to lift a finger to break you. All she had to do was trigger you, make you feel too much, too fast, too deep. Because once you're emotional, you're predictable. And once you're predictable, you're controllable. Stoicism isn't about being numb. It's about discipline, about holding the line when everything inside you wants to cross it. Most men break not because they're weak, but because they never learned how to sit with the storm and not act. They lash out, they beg, they spiral, and every time they do, they hand over more power. She may have baited you, tested you, said things just to provoke a reaction, left gaps in the story so your mind would fill them with fear, posted pictures just to spark jealousy. These aren't random, that's dark psychology. It's about pulling you into an emotional state where logic dies and your pride goes with it. And once she knows how to pull those strings, she'll keep playing that song until you've danced yourself into ruin. But when you go still, when you feel everything but do nothing, that's when the game ends. Because control isn't about pretending you don't care. It's about caring and still not cracking. It's about standing in the fire and not screaming. That's the man she didn't expect. That's the man she can't manipulate. You stop becoming her puppet the second you stop dancing to emotion. Let her cry, rage, disappear. Let her play games. You are not moved. You are not reactive. Because when you control your emotions, you control the outcome. She can't break what doesn't bend. Number 4, her game was never love, it was control. It looked like love, it felt like love, but it wasn't. Not really. Love doesn't leave you questioning your worth. It doesn't twist your words, punish your silence, or reward your pain. What you were caught in wasn't a relationship, it was a power struggle, and you didn't lose her. You lost the game she was playing. Because you were playing with your heart, she was playing with strategy. This is what most men don't see until it's too late. Not everyone wants connection. Some want control. They use affection as currency, intimacy as leverage. One day they're warm, the next they're cold. And every shift is designed to keep you chasing, doubting, wondering what you did wrong. That's not love. That's psychological warfare. When you're in it, it feels like chaos. But from the outside, it's simple. The goal was never a future with you. It was control over you. And nothing gives someone more control than knowing they can hurt you and still be forgiven. Knowing they can pull away and you'll follow. Knowing they can disrespect you and you'll rewrite your standards just to keep them around. But the second you see it for what it is, everything changes. The fog lifts. You stop asking, why did she stop loving me? And start asking, Why was I trying so hard to prove my worth to someone who made me feel worthless? And the answer is brutal, but freeing, because once you realize her game wasn't love, you stop playing by her rules, you stop reacting, you stop explaining, you stop chasing someone who feeds off the chase. And in that moment, the game ends, not with closure, not with revenge, with indifference. And that's what kills her illusion of power, when the player gets ignored by the prize. Number 5, let her sit with the echo. You don't need to slam the door. You don't need to send one last message. You don't need to make her understand. You just need to go quiet and stay quiet. Because the loudest thing she'll ever hear is the absence of your voice where it used to be constant. Let her sit with the echo. She thought she could walk away and come back to open arms, that you'd wait, wounded, in the ruins of what she broke. She expected forgiveness without apology, love without effort. She thought you'd collapse without her, but when you disappear without theatrics, when you stop playing her game and simply remove yourself from the board, that silence echoes through every part of her world. She checks her phone. Nothing. She posts a story, hoping you'll view it. You don't. She tells mutual friends she hopes you're okay, fishing for proof that you still care, but you don't bite. That echo gets louder, because in that silence she hears everything she did wrong. Every time she tested your patience, every time she lied, manipulated, or acted like she was irreplaceable. And now she has to live with the truth. You were never hers to control. You just hadn't realized your worth yet. And when you do, you don't scream it. You don't need to. You just vanish from her life like a ghost and leave her haunted by how easily you walked away. That's the secret. Don't fill the silence with explanations or bitterness. Let it stand. Let it echo. Let her be the one who has to sit in the aftermath of her decisions, without your comfort to soften the blow. Number 6, stop explaining yourself to people who already understand. Stop wasting your breath. She knew what she was doing. She knew how it made you feel. She just didn't care, because your pain didn't cost her anything at the time. And now you're thinking about sending that one last message, one more explanation, one more breakdown of why it hurt. But why? She understood. She just didn't respect it. That's the trap. Thinking closure comes from clarity. Thinking that if you just word it right, she'll finally feel bad. She won't. Because this was never about misunderstanding. It was about boundaries she chose to cross and emotions she chose to ignore. You kept giving chances, hoping she'd finally get it. But deep down, she already did. She just didn't think you'd ever walk. Stoicism reminds us, you don't owe anyone an explanation for your standards. You're not responsible for making someone see the damage they caused. Your peace isn't up for debate. So when you go silent, not out of spite but out of self-respect, that's the closure. You stop justifying your worth to someone who only listened when they were losing you. You're not a lawyer defending a case. You're not on trial for how deeply you loved. You don't need to relive your pain so someone else can finally validate it. You spoke, you gave, you showed up. That was your truth. That was enough. And if she couldn't respect it then, your silence now is the only thing left to say. Let her wrestle with the weight of everything she didn't appreciate, and let yourself rise, free of the need to explain your soul to someone who was never listening. Number 7, the more detached you are, the more power you hold. The moment you stop needing her is the moment she starts needing you. Detachment isn't coldness, it's control. It's the ability to care without collapsing, to love without losing yourself. It's what separates the man who's owned from the man who can walk away with everything intact. She could feel it when you were still attached. The overthinking, the constant availability, the way your world bent around her moods. That kind of energy gets drained. used. Not because she's evil, but because attachment makes you predictable. And predictable men are easy to manipulate, easy to push, test, pull back in. But when you detach, when you no longer respond to breadcrumbs, drama, or silence with your own desperation, that's when the dynamic flips. She starts wondering, starts checking, starts feeling the power shift, because detachment is the art of holding your center while the world tries to pull you off balance. And that is magnetic. She expected to be chased. Instead, she's being ignored. She expected to trigger jealousy. Instead, you're unbothered. She expected to control the narrative. Instead, you stopped showing up in her story altogether. Now she's not the priority. She's not even the afterthought. And that quiet strength, where you're not angry, not bitter, just uninterested, becomes your most attractive trait. Because nothing is more powerful than a man who doesn't need anyone to validate his worth. Detachment is not giving up. It's leveling up. It's walking into every room, every situation, every relationship with the energy of, I choose to be here, but I don't have to be. And that energy, that's rare. That's dominant. That's stoic. Number 8, don't just move on. Level up. Moving on is what she expects. Leveling up is what she fears. See, anyone can move on. Block her, date someone new, post pictures to look unbothered. But that's surface level. That's noise. What really haunts people is when you quietly become everything they swore you'd never be. Stronger, smarter, more focused, and completely out of reach. You don't get even by replacing her. You get even by replacing the version of yourself who tolerated her, the one who doubted his worth, who tried too hard, who begged to be understood. That man dies here. And in his place, someone colder, sharper, wiser, someone who doesn't need to prove anything to anyone because his life shows it. This is where your heartbreak becomes a weapon, but not one you use on her. One you forge into discipline, into growth, into silence that speaks volumes. Hit the gym, hit the books, hit your goals like your soul depends on it, because it does. When you focus all that energy inward, something happens. You start building a life she no longer has access to. She thought you'd stay stuck. She thought you'd crumble. But now, you're unreachable. Not because you're hiding, but because she's no longer qualified to stand beside the man you've become. The pain didn't break you. It revealed you. And now you're in the rebuilding phase, with no interest in proving her wrong, just proving yourself right. Leveling up isn't about revenge. It's about never being that vulnerable, confused, reactive version of yourself again. It's about rising so far beyond who you were that looking back feels like watching someone else's life. You're not healing for her, you're evolving for you. Number 9, when she comes back, you won't be there. She always planned to come back. That was part of the unspoken agreement in her mind. She could leave, test the waters, chase excitement, and you'd be right where she left you. Because in her version of the story, you were the constant, the safety net, the backup plan. She just never considered that one day you'd be gone. Not halfway gone. Not posting cryptic quotes hoping she'll notice. Gone. Emotionally unavailable. Mentally untouchable. Spiritually detached. Not bitter. Not angry. Just no longer open for return visits. And that's when she'll reach out. When the thrill wears off, when the attention fades, when the new distractions lose their shine, she'll send that "Hey stranger" message, the check-in, the nostalgia bait. It'll be subtle, sweet even. But underneath it is the same old game. She's seeing if the door's still cracked open. But this time, it's not. Because something changed. You changed. The man who once waited for her text now doesn't even notice when she views his story. The man who once begged for clarity now sees through the chaos. And the man who once hoped for her return now hopes she learns why she lost him. Stoicism teaches that freedom isn't just about walking away, it's about never looking back. It's the calm, steady refusal to re-enter a space that once disrespected your value. So when she comes back, you won't be there. Not out of revenge, but because that chapter is closed, and you're too far ahead to reread a story that already ended. She'll realize too late that you weren't waiting, you were healing. And in your silence, she'll find the answer she was hoping not to hear. Number 10. The final silence is the one that echoes forever. There's a kind of silence that doesn't just mark the end, it becomes the ending. No message, no closure, no last words. Just absence so permanent, it shakes the foundation of everything they thought they could return to. That's the final silence. And once it hits, it echoes forever. She didn't expect that. She expected the silence to be a pause, a phase, something she could break with a little effort, a little guilt, a little charm. But now she's met with nothing. No response, no energy, not even a grudge, just pure, complete detachment. And that's what breaks her. Not your rage, not your tears, but the fact that your love is no longer hers to touch. Because here's what most people don't realize until it's too late. Silence doesn't always mean forgiveness. Sometimes it means you're erased. Not with hate, but with indifference. The space you used to fill, it's now occupied by peace, discipline, growth. And that space, she can't access it anymore. Because you've outgrown the part of you that once needed to be heard by someone who never listened. This is where Stoicism wins. When you stop engaging, not because you're holding back, but because there's truly nothing left to say. That silence is sacred. It's your closure, your boundary, your strength. And it tells her everything she needs to know. Not only are you done, but you're never coming back. She'll think about it long after you've stopped. She'll replay it while you're building something new. And every time she reaches for you in her mind, that final silence will answer. Cold, clear, unforgiving, eternal. So here you are, not broken, not bitter, just done. And that's the most dangerous version of you. Because you didn't lash out. You didn't play the victim. You didn't fight to be seen by someone who already made their choice. You let them feel the weight of it, quietly, completely. That silence, it's not weakness, it's evolution. You finally realized that begging for love is beneath you, that explaining your worth is over, that the man who learns to walk away in peace is the one they never forget. You don't need revenge, you don't need validation, you don't need closure. You are the closure. Let them remember the sound of your silence. Let them sit with the ghost of the man they thought would never leave. And you keep building, keep rising, keep becoming someone so untouchable that your past no longer even recognizes you. The silence is loudest when you're finally done. And you, my friend, are done. If you're finished begging to be seen, if you're ready to live like you finally get it, hit that like button. Subscribe to Stoic Blessing. Turn on notifications so you never miss another moment of clarity. And comment below. I don't return to what I had to heal from. Your silence is your power. Own it.